I didn't notice him at first. He was already sitting there when I walked in, near the window where the light softened everything it touched. Not the best seat, not the worst, just a place someone chose without much thought. He didn't look lonely, and he didn't look like he was waiting for anyone either. That was the first thing that felt unusual. Most people at that hour were killing time. Phones in hand, coffee cooling beside them, eyes restless. But he sat still, hands folded, not staring out the window, not watching the door, as if the room itself was enough. I ordered my drink and took the empty table a few feet away, close enough to notice, far enough to pretend I wasn't paying attention. He wore a simple jacket. Nothing that tried to explain who he was. No pins, no slogans, no stories stitched into the fabric. Just clean, worn, quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't ask to be filled. It was his hands that caught my attention. They rested on the table like they belonged there. Not gripping, not fidgeting, not searching for something to do. Hands that had learned, long ago, how to wait without impatience. I wondered how long a person had to live before waiting became a skill, instead of a burden. The waitress came by and asked if he wanted anything else. He smiled and shook his head, a small movement. Careful, almost apologetic. "Just this," he said. And then after a second, "Thank you." She nodded and walked. He watched her go, not with interest, but with awareness, as if every small interaction still mattered. I don't know why I spoke to him. Maybe it was the silence. Maybe it was the way the room felt calmer around him. Or maybe it was simply that I'd spent too many years sitting across from people who were loud and empty. I leaned over slightly. "Excuse me," I said. "Do you mind if I ask you something?" He looked at me then. Really looked. Not surprised. Not guarded. Just present. "Go ahead," he said. I don't know what I expected. A story. A joke. A polite deflection. Instead, I asked the first thing that came to mind. "Do you come here often?" The question sounded small the moment it left my mouth. The kind of question people ask when they don't know what they're actually trying to learn. He smiled again, this time slower. "Sometimes," he said, "when I want to remember where I am." That was not the answer I expected. I laughed, a little awkwardly. "As opposed to where you usually are." He nodded. "Yes." Then he looked back toward the window. The conversation paused there, like he wasn't sure whether to continue. I almost apologized, almost told him to forget I asked. But then he spoke again. "You'd be surprised," he said, "how easy it is to be in a place and still be somewhere else." I didn't press him. I didn't ask for details. I'd learned over the years that people who had something real to say rarely rushed to say it. Instead, I asked, "Does it help, coming here?" He thought for a moment. "It reminds me," he said, "that time kept moving, even when I didn't." That was the moment I realized he wasn't talking about coffee, or cafes, or routines. He was talking about survival, but he never used the word. We sat in silence again. Not an uncomfortable one. Not the kind you try to escape. The kind that feels like sitting beside someone on a long train ride where neither of you needs entertainment. I noticed other things then. The way he listened to conversations around him without intruding. The way his eyes softened when he heard laughter. The way loud noises didn't make him flinch. But they did make him pause. Like his body still checked in with itself before deciding how to react. I realized I was watching someone who had lived through something most of us only know as history. Not because he told me, but because of what he didn't do. He didn't complain. He didn't reminisce out loud. He didn't try to teach me anything. He simply existed. Carefully. Intentionally. I asked him one more question, the one he didn't expect. "Do you miss it?" I said. "The years that shaped you?" He didn't answer right away. His fingers moved slightly on the table. Not nervous, just thoughtful. "That's a hard question," he said, "because it assumes I left it behind." Then he looked at me again. "Some things don't stay in the past," he said. "They stay in how you sit, how you listen, how you walk into a room." He smiled, almost kindly. "You don't miss what never really leaves." That sentence stayed with me longer than I expected. I thought about my own life. The things I carried without naming them. The habits that weren't choices anymore, but echoes. The way I avoided certain conversations. The way I filled silence too quickly. The way I rushed moments that didn't need to end. I wondered how much of who I was came from places I no longer visited. He finished his drink and stood up slowly. Not stiff. Just deliberate. "Thank you for the company," he said. "Asking questions keeps the mind awake." I nodded. "Thank you for answering." He paused at the door and turned back once more. "Not everyone listens," he said. "And fewer people remember." Then he left. I stayed there longer than I planned. Watching the light shift. Listening to the room return to its usual noise. But something had changed. The space he left behind felt larger than the chair he occupied. I realized then that some people don't tell their stories because their lives have already done the talking. And sometimes the most powerful memories aren't the ones spoken aloud. They're the ones you notice because someone learned how to live with them. And if this moment feels familiar, I'm here, listening. You're not alone.